Welcome to Grace for the Grind, a discipleship tool for the busy believer. We want to be a place where we can have practical encouragement and honest conversations as we follow Jesus together. My name is Nathan. I'm one of the pastors here at Mount View Baptist Church, joined once again by Stephen Hill. How you doing, man?
Yeah, man, good. Excited for today. Working over a little bit of the man flu.
Ooh.
Other than that, we're good. So if my voice
So
is
the
different,
cold.
I guess. I did the things. I went and they did the swabs and the whatevers, and I'm negative for all the things. So I'm not trying to get you in a box in here and get you sick.
Well, I've already been through it. We went through it during Christmas break, and so it is. It'll get you.
Yeah,
but it's so you had the little thing that touched your brain.
Yes,
basically.
That took me back to like COVID days. I was like, we're still doing
Oh
this?
man. Well, that's the life that we live. So, anyways, we are joined today with some awesome coffee.
Yeah,
some Black Rifle coffee given to us by Jennifer Thompson.
Yeah, shout out.
She, great couple. Have horses.
Razorback fans.
Woo
Pig.
I've
Can
told
you do the
Randy, I don't want to do the
Should
thing.
we do it now?
As a Kentucky fan, I cannot do the thing because they took Calipari.
Y'all were done with him.
We were done with him anyways.
Yeah.
It was he was recycled to them. That's the way that I am now thinking about it because that's a great way to put it. But so Jennifer, thank you. Randy, thank you.
Yep.
This is delicious and we love it. Do you want to tink it?
Here we go. How's the Mormon coach working out for you guys over there?
The Mormon coach, and Mormon player, Mormon Mamba, is what we're calling him.
You need to translate the last 30 seconds or so.
Not great, but we will figure it out. He's trying to figure out how to build a team in the SEC.
Kentucky basketball hired former BYU head coach who brought his best player with him.
Exactly.
There you go.
Kind of brought him. But
this is not a Kentucky basketball pod. We're
it can be.
We're not.
I was listening to it right before we started
I
this.
know you were.
But yes, so it is. He is trying to figure out how to play in the SEC, and that is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why they brought him because he wouldn't normally fit. He went to Kentucky and played on the team, won 2 national championships with him. So Mark Pope. So I don't have much hope with Pope.
Maybe he'll send us some Big Blue coffee.
Ooh, I doubt he's a listener. But anyways, we want to, before we kind of jump into our topic, Stephen, I have a random question for you. If you could listen to one type or one genre of music for the rest of your life, you can only pick one, what would you listen to?
Okay. I'm going to have several answers.
The pastor answers worship music. You can't pick.
But I have like a genre of that.
Okay.
So if we're going to do like if it's the rest of my life, it's got to be some version of worship music. So I'll give that answer and sort of get that out of the way.
Yeah, that's an asterisk one.
So,
that's
like,
too much for a pastor
one. Like City of Light, Matt Boswell, like that whole Getty's new hymnody style worship stuff, and Christ Alone, those things that we do a lot of here. Has there been a resurgence of those things? I grew up with hymns. Yeah. I also think old hymns that repeat the same things over and over again can get a little sleepy. Mm-hmm. So I like the depth of the new hymnody stuff. So I love that. Love Aaron and the way he leads those things here. If I could have another genre for like fun listening, I love 90s country.
90s country.
So that steel guitar twang, I mean, that gets me.
So like Toby Keith?
No, Alan Jackson.
Before Alan Jackson.
Yeah,
oh,
George Strait.
Love it.
Yeah. So I grew up on all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my first crush was Reba McEntire from a cassette tape.
The amount that you've mentioned this lately,
I can see it in my head still,
is alarming.
Chevy Lumina, we would crank Reba.
So but 90s country music.
I have a third answer. You didn't ask for all these.
Uh-huh.
What I listen to a lot now
the
is
purpose of the question you're ignoring. But
yep. I like having instrumental music in the background, like if I'm trying to sermon write or read or something. And there's a band called Rivers and Robots, and they do like all contemporary music, worship songs, but to like kind of soft techno background style stuff. Anyway, it's been really good. So I
just imagine you just thumping to techno music.
No, it's like gentle.
Gentle.
It's not like
it's
EDM,
calming.
Rave warehouse party stuff. So
just reading your Bible
yes,
and commentaries and
right.
just
I had Rivers and Robots on. They were doing pumping. Like King of My Heart or something before we came up here. So
that's interesting.
But no words, just the kind of light melody in the background.
Actually that would probably be, if I could listen to one thing for the rest of my life, it would probably actually be like acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Just playing anything. That's what I listen to. That's what I concentrate to.
Yeah.
I actually can't even go to sleep to it, which a lot of
Yep.
people will like go to sleep and say like that will just put me to sleep. I can't.
Yeah.
But I listen to a lot of. If you've ever followed the Dwell app,
Yes.
where they have the acoustic guitar in the background, you can find that on Spotify.
Yeah.
And that's like my concentration. Like I need to get stuff done.
I feel like I'm 8 years away from liking classical music. Not there yet.
So
But
like
it's coming.
orchestra, classical
like old,
music.
like Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, the symphony stuff. Like I just throw that in the background. Some of those are bops, man.
I just don't think I'm sophisticated.
Some of
enough
those
for
are
that.
bops. I think you become when you start. You pretend at the
Is
beginning.
that what wisdom is? Is that what I need to develop?
Fake it at the beginning, and then
That's
you
right.
stumble into it over time.
It would either be that, or, and this is my guilty pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
is mid 2000s punk rock
Yeah,
music.
I can join you in
So
this.
like My Chemical Romance,
Blink-182.
Blink 182, early Fall Out Boy before
Yeah.
they became what they are now.
Yeah.
Like it's good stuff.
Yep.
And so that is my age showing.
Yep.
And as I was a preppy little punk
Yeah.
high schooler.
Was that what was on your MySpace page back in the day?
Oh,
Did
oh
you
yeah,
have a Zanga
always.
blog?
You always had to put like the quote from whatever band you're listening to then, and had to change based upon your feelings and whatever was popular at the time. So
Speaking of technology,
yes, technology. Speaking of MySpace addictions, MySpace is kind of where social media addiction started, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, the first social media app thing I remember, the ranking of all of the friends, that was always stressful. How some dude named Tom was always
you had to
in the
have your top
8.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we should bring that back.
You know, it's actually MySpace still is a thing.
Is that right?
It's still like it's just obviously no one's on it, but it's still a thing. It's
Yeah.
more like you can listen to music on it.
I'll give our listeners a free bag of coffee if they can find my old MySpace page, but then don't tell anybody about it.
Do
Send-
I
send it
get
to
the
me.
coffee if I find it?
Sure.
Because AI will help me find a lot of
Open
things.
offer.
Well, kind of what we want to talk about is we're kind of titling this "The Age of Distraction." I think this is coming from a conviction that both you and I have
Yep.
for ourselves.
Yep.
Me and Steven kind of this year have not talked about it, but had the same personal convictions inside of our own lives of using our phones and being distracted and separated from reality. How would you describe yours?
Yeah, I think like my screen time stats were never like I was on my phone for 8 hours a day or something. But the moments that I would really felt convicted by the Lord, particularly over the break, and I've gone through, I think everybody, it's not just our age. Like now everybody has, like I'll go to lunch and there's 70-year-olds at lunch together and they've all got their iPhones out, completely not paying attention to each other. So I think it's just all of us now. We'll have moments of like, I need to be doing this less. But the particular moments I'm thinking of were when like I'm putting my kids to bed at night and, you know, you're ping pong back and forth between both kids' bedrooms. We do prayers and devotions and bedtime with them like every night. And while I'm waiting for them to like brush their teeth, like I've told them the 700th time, you know, I'll just find myself like scrolling for no reason, like on nonsense. And I don't even have social media apps on my phone. So I have to go log on to a browser to go find that stuff. Or I'll just scroll through ESPN or CNN, which I don't care about. And, you know, just I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like I love to read. I love being a dad. I love to parent.
Yeah.
I'd sit down in the morning. I've always been a very faithful, like quiet time Bible reader in the morning, but I would have my phone next to me and I'd realize 15 minutes went by and I hadn't retained focus. Like I'd started like in our Bible reading plan, for example, and then get to the second reading and I'm off in La La Land on my phone. Like, and sometimes I'm looking at the calendar for the day ahead, which is just not what I want to be doing. Like it's not even that like I don't have a shopping or a gambling or pornography addiction. It's just in those moments, I'm like, I am not focusing on what matters most, and I'm settling for such a Dollar General version of the real thing, you know. And, so that was kind of for me. So
I would say even
what about you?
mine's. I can echo almost everything that you said. Of not being where your feet are planted, not realizing what's going on, of this kind of emptiness of like, what am I looking at? What am I doing? And I think like even this, like I would feel like I am achieving so much but not actually doing anything
Yeah.
with our phones. And then it really kind of came. I was having some trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
I was noticing that, hey, I was struggling to settle down, and I really kind of became addicted, not just to phones, to watching TV, to watching. My kind of guilty pleasure is to put on The Office or Parks and Rec and just watch 3 minutes of it, and I'm out.
Yeah.
And I've kind of conditioned myself for that, and that I just had a lot of conviction. I was like, hey, we just need to. I need to pull away from this. So like we were removing TVs from the upstairs parts of our house, of our inside the bedroom. I'm putting away my phone. We'll talk about some of the ways that we're doing that kind of towards the end, but just a lot of conviction on my part of being like, I'm easily distracted and I'm too easily entertained. And oftentimes I don't think it's only limited to our phones, but I think that's the primary source is through our phones. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we don't watch a ton of TV in our house, but there's certainly weeks that I know we watch too much of it for us and the rhythms we want for our kids. So, yeah, phones is the biggie. I think for everybody.
Yeah, I think one of the things that our phones does is it allows for this simple question of if someone could use the screen time report on your phone or your social media feeds, what story would that tell you about what you love the most? I heard a pastor talk about what if the algorithms that these social media companies are spending billions of dollars of billions of dollars to be able to customize to our likings. What if that is actually a depiction of our own hearts? Of what we like or don't like. So if our feeds are positive, I don't know about you, mine's not. Mine's usually negative. It's usually someone attacking this person. It shows our addiction and where our hearts are leaning towards because that's what we're giving the most attention to.
Yeah, mine's like deer hunting and baseball. So
that checks out. And knee surgeries, right?
Right.
So
recovery plans for garage athletes, which is all I am now.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the challenges is whenever we think about how does our phones change us? How are we seeking satisfaction from anywhere else? I think about like even the simple thing of, have you ever had one of those moments where you are sitting in bed or you are sitting around in a quiet room and you think you hear
alert.
The phantom alert. You hear
totally.
your notification in the background. I don't know about you. I never even have my notifications on.
Mine's a feel. So like I don't have mine on either. So then it's just a vibration. But I'll have like I know we'll talk specifics of how we handle phones in times and when they sleep at later. But like I won't even have my phone in my pants and I'll feel like it went off and I'll pat for it and it's not there. Yeah. So those not even just the sound, just that like, or if I get out of the truck different, if I just shift in my chair, all of that happens, all the time. So
what would you say is that showing or describing inside of our lives whenever we have those kind of phantom moments, phantom hearing, phantom notifications?
Just that we've given way too much attention to that. And maybe to go back to your original screen time question, like what would that show? It would show me that nobody like me has an excuse that should ever begin with something like, well, I didn't have time for that. Like we have a handful of forbidden phrases in our house, and that's one of them. And we will say something like instead, you can never say, I didn't have time to do the dishes. I didn't have time to tidy up. I didn't have time to go work out. You can say, I didn't make time. Yeah. Or I chose to do other things, because that's more honest. But that screen time report, I mean, it's the old Piper quote of like, one of the purposes of, at the time it was just Facebook and Twitter. We've added TikTok and Instagram, all those things since then. But one of the purposes of the apps of social media in the last day on Judgment Day will be to show God that like our lack of prayerlessness was not because of a lack of time. So I think that's just I think of Ephesians 5:15 and 16, which has been the things that have been in my head so long. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise. And then verse 16, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. It doesn't mean Christians should be like these hyper efficient, we're only going to maximize every ounce every day. Like it means that if I want to plan something like a Sabbath time or a Sabbath half day with my family, we need to do something like go on a hike or do a board game or something together or
Yeah.
play outside. Like this changes how we give birthday gifts to people. Like we had a birthday party last week, and we were the only ones that didn't give like a remote control light up something. We gave them these little foam planes you can fly outside, because I want that kid to play outside too. So, but making the best.
Those
use of
kids
the
probably
time.
don't like y'all now.
They loved it.
They loved it. Oh, whoa,
And the
that's great.
And the grandparents love it.
Oh, really?
Parents may not love it, but the grandparents pulled us aside. And they knew the deal.
Oh,
They were
okay.
like, thank you for giving
See,
me an
it's the
outside thing.
exact opposite for us.
So-
Is we have to tell, like, Mom, if you're listening to this, sorry. We have to tell them, like, hey, nothing that makes noise.
Yep.
Like, we got to end this stuff.
We had
And-
one year where we gave a ton of stuff away.
Oh, yeah.
That was brand new gifts.
Lots of regifting.
And we learned all our extended family real quick.
Yeah, so I think that's you're right in that. I think you're correct in saying, okay, how do we not give the excuse of I don't have time? We have time. And I think it's what are we allowing to have captivity over our soul, have dominion over our hearts, over our minds, even kind of broadening out. I think we're in the age right now of dopamine hits. I think it can easily be said of that social media is just about dopamine hits, where that feeling that I talked about of like, hey, I'm doing something because I'm scrolling social media, or I'm doing something else. It can make me feel like I'm busy, but I'm not actually doing anything. There's even a twist now of being like, hey, ADD, how do you use dopamine hits for your benefit? And how do you have a checklist and check it off, and you get your little dopamine hit every time you do that. But there's warnings that come whenever we are looking for dopamine hits to be like our satisfaction. I have it like kind of looking at some writings, even some non-Christians. There's a lady named Amber, I always forget, Lambic.
She's a Stanford.
Lembke. Yeah, she's a Stanford professor who wrote a book on the dopamine nation, how we are addicted to dopamine hits and the effects of it. Even she goes so far to say that we are so concentrated on dopamine to be able to say this is our satisfaction, that we're looking for highs constantly. And that our pains are so low. If we were to think of our lives as a seesaw of pain and then pleasure, we gear our own lives to saying, how can I feel as much pleasure as I can? How do I feel as little pain as I can? Even with our kids, like the temptation to say, I don't want them to have any struggles. I don't want them to have any roadblocks in front of them, so they don't have to feel any pain. What would you say is something that happens whenever we have so much pleasure and so little pain? What does it do to our own lives?
I think we forget that, so dopamine is this chemical your brain produces, right? And God designed it that way. So we have now taken a good gift from God, because the problem isn't dopamine. It's what we chase after that then releases it, because God also has designed our brain to allow us to find temporary dopamine releases, as in the pleasure channels in your brain firing, saying, even if you set a 10-minute timer, aimless scrolling is good, pornography, good, gambling, good, swiping social media, good, because you escape the thing. And so then, like, what was good for this year isn't going to be sufficient enough for next year. But the same chemical is what happens in worship. Or when you have a really good meal with a friend, or like at that runner's high at the end of a workout that like someone like Aaron gets, is dope. Like, so all that is God's good gift of that. So like all things, man, we just have taken something that God designed for good, and we've twisted it so much that now what was good enough, because we settled for this counterfeit thing, isn't good enough for the next. And so you've got to rewire, which this can happen. Addiction specialists have shown this in neurological studies. You can, with God's help, rewire the pleasure centers of your brain to funnel and feed the right kind of pleasure. So this is the whole point of like one of my favorite books, Desiring God by John Piper. He's like, we're designed by God to chase after pleasure, and we find it in Him. Which means you can experience pain in this world and the pleasure being found in Christ at the same time. And I think some people in our church who are doing this well, like the Whitfields right now, seem to be doing a great job of this. Like, none of us are perfect, but Daryl and Tina going through a second round of cancer diagnosis, that's some real pain and confusion, physical, spiritual, emotional. And they're experiencing the pleasure of the security of God's grace in their life.
I mean, that makes sense for James. Consider it pure joy when you face trials of any kind. I think we've kind of talked about that in this podcast some, but I think that's one of the challenges, is that when we are always aiming our lives towards the pleasure side of the seesaw, what it does is it creates an imbalance in us that the pain feels so much stronger than what it actually is.
Yep.
Where if we don't have built-in pain inside of our own lives, not saying that we like are yearning for it, but like for working out, to be able to hit that dopamine high of working out, you have to run however long. I don't know. I've never had that dopamine hit of the runner's high. I've never had it. It's just the 10 yards I did in football. That wasn't enough.
Squatter's high. Is that what you get?
That's every squat.
You throw 3 plates on. And
but there's pain that leads up to it that causes balance. And I think even for kids, like, it can easily be seen as there's the next generation after us. You always hear is a weak generation, or this is a soft generation. The things that are small become big deals, and we can even ourselves, we can see that the less pain that we feel, the more that the smaller pain becomes this big deal inside of our own lives. And that's the effects of whenever we're addicted to something, we're seeking pleasure and not having balance inside of our own lives to say, what am I pursuing? Where am I going? It creates an imbalance in us that then creates a change that messes with our mental health, that messes with everything else.
You can't endure, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
You can't keep on going. Well, one other thing that she pointed out inside this book, and I've read pieces of it. She talks about when you go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is known for lots of things. There's the Dome where you can go watch amazing concerts. There's things everywhere. What is the thing that Las Vegas is known for?
Like number one?
Yeah.
Casinos, gambling.
Gambling. And one of the things that they talked about is that the addiction of gambling, it was found in like 2010, that the cause for the addiction was not in the reward that they would get. But the addiction was found in the unpredictability of the moment. That it wasn't in, hey, I have to pay next month's rent. It wasn't in, can I make this money? It's, okay, what's going to happen next? And to even think about that, as we're scrolling through our phone, our addiction isn't in that content. And that content, oftentimes, after you scroll through it twice, you forget about it. But the addiction is, okay, what's next? What is next? And it's built into our daily lives of how we're looking at at our phones and at social media, and getting that dopamine hits. It's invasive inside of our own lives.
Yeah, I think particularly for young men, because I think of the Southern Baptist Convention, I don't know, 20 years ago, had the huge resolution on gambling, and I remember hearing about that as a kid, being like, is this big a deal? Like, people playing poker and cards and stuff, like, people do this, apparently to significant lengths. But then now I think about young men in our church, certainly in other states where things like FanDuel and all these things are way more legalized. Like, I talked to a buddy at another state last week, and he could not pay his tithe check because he had to pay off his FanDuel sports gambling account. And so, like, that's a huge problem. Yeah. But the feeling he's chasing is what you're describing, is like, there's an app now when I'm watching Browns Jaguars game in week 13 that doesn't matter. I can have a fourth leg parlay that may hit if this backup wide receiver catches a slant in the third quarter. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And really, I mean, it's doing what sin does, where sin at first is public, and the more invasive it becomes inside of our own personal lives, not our culture, in our own personal lives, the more private it becomes. And so that's what we're seeing. I would say one of the largest epidemics that we're going to have in the next little while is younger men being addicted to sports gambling. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed personally, needs to be talked about, but also needs to be addressed personally for men to say, hey, I got to break myself out of this because of the warnings of what could come.
Yeah, and to your point, if somebody listening to that just goes, okay, I'm not a 24-year-old, NFL gambler. Okay, well, like, what were your TikTok stats last week? And then I think that'll probably bring it closer to home. One of the books I know has been really formative for you and me is this book by Tony Rinke. He worked really closely with John Piper for a long time at Desiring God, 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You. This will make you want to go bury your smartphone in a shipping container in the middle of the ocean. But one of the ways it changes you, chapter 8 is we get comfortable in secret vices, which follows chapter 7, we get lonely.
Yeah.
And so as sin, again, you mentioned pervade not just in the community or culture, but in our lives, we become increasingly more private, more isolated, and it's easier to hide those things.
Yeah.
And our phones are sort of the gatekeeper for all that stuff.
100%.
I think one big trap I would want us to avoid would be thinking that your phone time is neutral. It's just not. I've become convicted by this. It's not. You're either pouring into thinking about like Philippians 4, whatever is pure, whatever is noble, like think about these things, or you're thinking about things like Galatians 5, the fruit of the flesh.
Yeah.
And I just don't think those things are, I don't think scrolling is neutral. It's doing something to us that is harming more than we realize.
So let's talk kind of practically.
Yep.
You were almost about to ditch your cell phone.
Yeah, I was about to pay $400 for a dumb phone, like not just the little pay cash, flip phone thing, but they have this thing called a Wise Phone, and this may be a good resource for people. Wise Phone 2, it looks like an iPhone, and you can call, you can text. It has Waze, a map app for navigation, and Spotify, and I think a camera.
Okay.
And so you can do everything but scroll the internet and add more apps. And so I got really close to pulling the trigger on that. The price point is probably the biggest thing for me to keep it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an option. As of now, are we talking habits now?
Yeah.
So lately, what's been helpful for me, and this has just taken a ton of discipline and practice and forgiveness from the people in my house that see me fail at this plan. But when I come home, I usually put my phone in the key box right there when you walk in from the garage. And on the best kind of days, and these are happening more and more, it will stay there until I'm done with my quiet time the next day, as long as we stay in the house.
Yeah.
If we go to basketball practice, then that's a different thing. But because we live in 2026, I can get all the phones and call alerts on my watch, which I usually have disconnected, but now I've reconnected. So, as pastors, you're never really done working or not on call. Yep. And so a few nights ago, we had a church member text, and all I could see on my watch, my phone was put up. It was like 9 o'clock at night. It wasn't a terribly late time, but I was already about to power down because, I go to sleep early and get up early. And it was like, hey, urgent prayer requests. I thought, I got out of bed, went and got my phone, replied, said a prayer, put it back in the box, back upstairs. Yeah. No big deal. That's been super, super, super helpful. So I'm reading way more. I'm sleeping better. I don't have a problem getting up early in the morning to read and work out, and I'm more attentive to my wife and my kids. I can feel my attention span, growing versus it being like the goldfish thing, that we experience so often.
It's almost like you don't realize the fog that is over your eyes until the fog's removed.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not an anxious person, but I feel less anxious. I'm certainly less distracted. I would get brain fog in the evenings and just chalk it up to we work hard. We have a complex job. That's not it, man.
Yeah.
So you've got a new
so
potential sponsor for the program here.
Not a sponsor yet. What I've done is, obviously, if I'm going to try something, I have to put 2 or 3 levels for me to break to be able to do something. So I one time had tried the focus time, hey, this app is disabled for so many hours. It's just too easy to get right past it. I found myself just like skipping it and not even realizing that I was. I went and bought this brick thing. You pay for it, and there's not a monthly subscription. Yeah, it's like $50.
Yeah.
You can get 2 of them for like 60 or something like that. Okay. But essentially, when I have a set time, every time I get home around 5 o'clock, my phone goes on brick mode, which means there's all social media, all apps that are easily distracting to me just go on lockdown.
So you can custom program which apps
you can custom program. Like, you can do up to 50 apps at a time.
Do you have 50 apps on your phone?
I have way too many. It's sad how many I have.
I have like an iPhone 4, so I can't have more than
I have too many. Sorry, I don't want to talk about that because that's going to be embarrassing. But I will oftentimes, it'll turn around 5 o'clock, and I intentionally leave this sitting inside of our garage where it's cold.
Just so everyone's clear, you have to tap this thing. You can like customize.
Yeah. I was going to go to that.
You tap the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it automatically turns on at 5 o'clock, locks down my phone that I can't get on social media. And then if I want to get on it, I have to tap on this with my phone to be able to deactivate it, to unbrick my phone.
So instead of the screen time thing where you can just tap the continue button.
I force myself where I have to go outside to the garage. If I'm upstairs inside of our bedroom, I have to go down the steps, go into the garage, and I have to consciously make that decision of like, I have to have some pain before I go to this. Lives in the garage, and it has been it's been really, really healthy for me. Even last night, like I needed to do some stuff. I needed to look at something real quick. I think it was on Facebook Marketplace, which is where I spend stupid money getting a lot of used stuff for discounted price.
I would pay if Facebook would just have a Marketplace app. I would pay for that every month.
I don't go look at Reels anymore. I just go look at Marketplace and spend money or look at stuff that I'm not going to buy. But I wanted to look at Marketplace real quick, and I ended up not turning it back on. And I found myself last night like, I can't go to sleep. It was like 11:30. I can't go to sleep. And it registered in my mind, well, I haven't been off my phone. I've been on it this whole time. And so like I failed last night. But has been a really, really good product for me. It's nothing special. It's nothing crazy, but it just allows that like next level of difference inside of my own personal life to be able to say, hey, I got to turn this off. And then what I've realized, the same thing that you've realized, is I'm less anxious. I am getting more done. I'm reading more. I'm sleeping better. I don't wake up at the wild, insane times that you wake up of 4:30 in the morning. But it's I'm sleeping better and I'm enjoying it. My marriage life is better. My kids are happy and I'm spending more time with them. And so just realizing, hey, if I put this stopper inside my life, it breathes out this benefit that I can't replicate any other way. And it's all for the glory of God.
That's wonderful, man. And I think I'm glad you shared about your last night, kind of the forgetting to unbrick or whatever. I think that's how this stuff works more often than not. I don't think it's a full-on cold turkey. When I had my little man flu episode last night, I missed dinner with some friends, which I was bummed about. So, hey, when the kids go to dinner, I'm crawling into bed, threw my phone on the nightstand. It was there when I got it this morning. So then I just grabbed it and went downstairs and read my Bible like normal, but the phone was on the couch. And I know I was more distracted than I would have been normally. So just an encouragement to listeners who try to implement something like this, whether it's screen time or a brick or just throw your phone in a box somewhere. You're probably going to have slip-ups, right? Like you're not going to go from 100% phone addicted. This is just how dopamine works. To 100% cured overnight. It'll be 2-3 steps forward, 1 step back, 4 steps forward, 2 steps back. But over the long arc of time, you'll see that change. And know that when you do these things, you are rewiring the pleasure centers of your brain back to the way God intended them to be, to chase after him, not the things of this world.
Yeah, and really, I think this goes with our last episode of 1,200 Steps. Isn't it so beautiful that the pursuit of faith inside of our lives is about the progress, not the perfection of our faith.
That's right.
Christ is the perfection of our faith.
That's right.
And we can say, all right, am I making progress? Am I taking that step? Am
never
I
done growing.
Doing these things? And so I would say, we haven't even talked about this. This is a step. Say if you're wanting to grow
100%.
in your faith, saying, hey, I got this brick, to be able to say, I want to have more time to be present with my family, to be with people and to have less anxiety and to grow in my faith in Christ. I'm going to say no to these desires and these pleasures in my life. Like that's a step. That's a step in your faith. I'll leave us kind of on this end on 1 Corinthians 6. 12. It's going about sexual immorality, which we know our phones can be a leading cause for all of it. It can be an effect of it. It says, all things are lawful for me, and not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. And it begins to talk about food is meant for the stomach, it's meant for good, and that there's evil that can be done about it. Like kind of like what we talked about, that dopamine is the way that God wired us and we're using it in the wrong way, which is what sin is. Not all things might be lawful. We can't say that being on your phone is a sinful thing, but maybe it's not help.
Because that's the chapter where Paul's quoting something that they've already sent him, right? That we don't have. He's saying, so y'all said all things are lawful. I'm saying I'm not going to be mastered by anything. Or dominated by anything. I think we've been mastered by our phones. I think we are either there or at risk of being dominated by our phones.
100%.
The fun thing about something like a brick, too, would be you can do it with your kids, with your teenagers. If you've given a smartphone to a 10-year-old, I think that's a terrible decision. But I also don't have a 10-year-old yet. So, but based on what we know now, do it with your kids. Bring them into this because it keeps track of it. Make it a competition, but
I
However-
even went the next level of if I am on my phone around my kids. My little Charlotte loves doing this. I showed her what app locks it down, and she, in her not sinfulness, but her scheming, and she loves to just lock it down whenever I'm not looking, and she'll be like, and it's become a game, but it's a healthy game.
Yeah.
And so show it to your kids. Bring your kids into it and be like, I'm on this too much. Hold me accountable.
Yeah,
And
but to your point, like the 1,200 steps thing here, the steps, the bricks, whatever, they're not the point. The not being mastered by anything is the point. That we are only mastered by Jesus Christ. And
Amen.
so whatever tool, stopgap you need to put in place to do that, let's do it until the Lord calls us home.
Amen. For his glory and obviously, as we talked about, for our good.
Yep.
So thank you for coming for Grace for the Grind. We will see you next time.